This episode of One Play Wednesday is going to focus on Lamar Jackson and Todd Monken's usage of under center play action concepts out of the eye. So Lamar Jackson under center, Patrick Ricard and Derrick Henry on the midline, lined up behind him, with Henry obviously set as the deep back. These have been tremendously effective in 2024, in my opinion. The play action concepts working off of the gravity, the threat of Derrick Henry running behind Patrick Ricard. There is an element to this that I have to talk about before we get to the film, and that's that there's only a dual threat here. There's really only two threats when we get into these formations. We're either going to run the ball with Derrick Henry, generally behind Pat Ricard. We do use some split flow and outside zone concepts, or it's going to be play action. And so some would say there's some limitations there. I would agree with that to a certain extent, but that doesn't mean it's not effective. That doesn't mean it doesn't present real problems for the defense and in some ways make them declare their hand. We're talking about classic, old school I formation concepts that Todd Monken has thrown in, has sprinkled in this year, probably because of how good Derrick Henry is. I think it's benefited Derrick Henry. I think it's benefited the offense for a lot of reasons, and particularly Lamar Jackson. Now, I don't mean that in the way that you may perceive. I don't mean it's helped boost his stats. It's helped make him look better. I think that Todd Monken and the offensive staff in the offseason, once we signed Derrick Henry, breathed a sigh of relief because they were like, hey, we finally have someone who 2 or 3 plays on a possession, maybe more, can remove the onus of responsibility from Lamar Jackson to create offense, to create space, to make plays. The space is created by the scheme and the threat of Derrick Henry being used to run downhill or run power concepts or toss. We've had 3 big plays. Henry's had 3 big plays on toss concepts earlier in the year. I'm talking 30 yards plus, but he's also had a number of 6, 8, 10, 12-yard gains on toss concepts that act as a jab. And that, to me, is what this portion of our offense can do. The I formation can, at a place and time of our choosing, Todd Monken's choosing that is, can force the defense to say, okay, it's either this or that, and both of those things are incredibly dangerous elements. And they are handing the football off to Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson keeping it as a secondary option. This is one play action concept that we had not seen so far this year. This is against Cincinnati in the first quarter. Zay Flowers catching the ball left to right and then creating some extra yardage, obviously after the play. So I would call this slot I because the tight end is off the line of scrimmage and Zay Flowers is tight. What I really like about this is we are willing, even with Zay Flowers here, to pin down on the defensive end and loop out the tight end and or one of these offensive linemen, usually it's the tackle, and then get Ricard out in front of Derrick Henry. And that's been tremendous for us this year from a conceptual standpoint. Not exactly what happens here because Henry and Ricard go in opposite directions. So that was Henry's path. Ricard's feet started around right here, and you can see he's cutting Murphy, their second-year defensive end. Why is that effective? We'll kind of get into that explanation as we get further into the video. I'm really getting away with longer content here than it should be. One Play Wednesday is designed to be in the 5-8 minute mark. I'm pretty sure that this one's going to go on a little bit longer. But why does that work? Why does that cutting of the defensive end work and essentially give Lamar so much space to take his time and throw the football? Yeah, there's less options because it's not a spread formation, but we're creating high percentage opportunities for Lamar on old school concepts. Last week we unveiled this motioning of the receiver from a stacked twins alignment. We could still run the toss over here. These two guys being stacked would allow them theoretically to pin down on edge defenders, maybe even together, get Ricard and the play side tackle out in front of Henry. Not what we do here. We're handing the football off. Ricard is kicking out the outside linebacker. I think it's Cooper, 15. Henry underneath the block. Falele does a nice job there getting to the inside linebacker. We'll give you the end zone angle. We're talking about the I formation and how Monken has given Lamar Jackson, I don't want to say plays off because he still has to execute things, but reducing perhaps the onus of responsibility for Lamar to execute something that's, quote, special or utilizes his athletic traits or asks him to process anything. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. It doesn't mean anything towards Lamar Jackson. Quarterbacks at the NFL level and a lot of levels of football have to process so much. What's wrong with 2 or 3 plays on each possession, removing them from the expectation that you have to do this to lessen the burden on their shoulders? Essentially, utilize other players in a complementary fashion. That's what we should be doing, and we can do that now because we have one of the deepest offenses in the league, if not the deepest. Justice Hill against the Broncos, wide open here on the power concept. We're focusing on Ricard kicking out edge defenders because on the play action that I showed you to Zay Flowers for 11 yards against the Bengals, Ricard did the same path, stepping to the defensive end like it's going to be a kick out and then cutting him, making that guy sprawl, get his hands out, get his hips back, get his feet on the ground, essentially removing him as a potential rusher. Why? To create time for Lamar and allow us to gain 6, 8, 10 yards at a chunk and utilize someone other than Lamar, other than Derrick Henry, on these play action concepts. This is against Tampa Bay. I believe this is the last play of the first quarter, and you can see an example here of full flow. So Ricard and Henry went to the same side. It's a max pro delineation, obviously. Lamar's throwing it quick, just over the outstretched hands of the outside linebacker. It's a brilliant throw by Lamar. The design is what appeals to me the most because for years, I explained this in video format many times, and hopefully I'll be able to provide a further explanation of it here that's quicker. We would, under Greg Roman, we would have Lamar maybe run an option play on first down, hand it off or keep it, whatever, gain of 6 yards. And on the second down play, execute a normal pass concept that other NFL quarterbacks are asked to execute with the same level of processing and execution in a condensed amount of time. And then on 3rd and 2, put him in the pistol and run another option play where he's expected to read the defense and then possibly outrun, juke NFL defenders who are big, strong, fast, physical, and nasty, trying to decapitate him, trying to take him not out of the game, but tackle him short and or make him pay for running the football. That's a real dynamic. Those 3 plays are theoretical is the way I'm designing them, but what Todd Monken is doing is one of those 3 plays is stuff like this, where Lamar really doesn't have to do anything such that I just described it. Fake the ball to Derrick Henry, easy completion to Isaiah Likely, winning against man. We've missed Likely. We need him back, in my opinion, to be at our full strength, to be at our full capability. These are plays that I just think illustrate the genius of what's been created, what's being created week by week, giving Lamar plays where he can rest physically, rest mentally, and we can still get things done, still gain 6, 8, 10, 12 yards and gain another first down. We didn't have that necessarily. That design element, I don't think was there under Greg Roman. It's a concept that I talked about dating back to even 2020 and 2021 when I first started making YouTube videos. An example of a good toss play, wide receiver pinning down on the defensive end, Hendrickson. We're only getting Ricard out in front. We're zoning the toss instead of pin pull. I think that's as a result of how well Cincinnati recognizes things on defense. Instead of pulling the tackle, we're zoning these guys up. So we're just trying to go get people on the front side and cut them off. This is just an illustration of the way that I think Todd Monken has done a great job. One of the great jobs he's done, besides giving Lamar, multiple ways to attack defenses, and Eric DeCosta acquiring a lot of talent at wide receiver, tight end, running back, etc., is Todd Monken has given Lamar Jackson 2 or 3 times on a possession whereby he doesn't have to exert the most physical energy on the field and the most mental processing at the same time. And Greg Roman and that staff at that time, I don't think ever understood that. Other quarterbacks that do that at times in the NFL, meaning they have a huge burden. It's not about personnel. Don't get lost here. It's not about personnel and who was or wasn't on the team. It's about what he's asked to do, and no one creating low energy, low effort plays. Low effort is a poor phrase, so come up with a better one in the comment section if you want, to allow us to still be effective. It's a scramble by Lamar out of Twins. It's a play action concept. Something to mention that I had talked about earlier in the year was what I would call split flow. It would be basically Ricard going one way, Henry going the other, which is what occurs on this play action concept. We don't get anything done in the pass game. The Bengals played a lot of zone against our I formation, so I'm real interested to see what the Steelers and other teams do. Are they going to play zone, recognizing the fact that, hey, they run the ball a lot with Derrick Henry, we're going to try to limit them? I think it's possible that teams have recognized the folly of playing man against our I formation sets. What I think we need to run more of, and this is not to criticize this play or say this will never work, what we need to run more of is we need to run the zone or stretch to this side and then have Ricard go opposite and cut the backside D end. If you guys are familiar, I call it stretch cut because it is split flow. What we would do if we were facing the Ravens in the eye, one of the things we would do is we would read the fullback and the tailback. We would tandem read it, and if they go split flow, we'll play zone. So as inside linebackers, we're not going to get fooled. If we see split flow, we assume that it's pass. But Todd Monken has the stretch cut into the system. He has that play installed, that play concept installed. I'd like to see us run it a little more often. We're back again to I formation play action stuff against the Bengals. This one doesn't go for much. This is on the game-winning drive. Only generates 5 yards on a 1st and 15. But I want to show the all-22 and focus on it a little bit because I think it illustrates the point that I was trying to make a moment ago, which is this is zone. And teams are playing zone against our most run-heavy formation. It's a misnomer and a mischaracterization and inaccurate to say teams, when they want to stop the run, they put an extra player in the box. Sometimes that's the answer. Yes, it is. But sometimes, especially the teams that read things well, they'll go too high safeties because they recognize we can get those safeties involved. They're outside of the blocking scheme, and we can be sound against the pass. This is a cover 2. Essentially ends up looking like a Tampa 2 with Logan Wilson turning his back, trying to get vertical, take away the middle third of the field. This is 2.5 minutes left in the game, 1st and 15. Derrick Henry in the backfield behind Patrick Ricard. And the Bengals don't have 8 in the box. They don't have 9 in the box. They're in a too high safety look, playing zone. I'm interested to see what the Steelers do against these looks here. They may roll Deshaun Elliott up in the box and play an 8-man front. Sure, they may do that. Different teams have different answers depending on the week and depending on what we have shown. Todd Monken, in my opinion, has given NFL defenses a lot to think about with a limited scope. Essentially, it's either play action or we're handing the ball off to Derrick Henry. We're obviously not going to hand the ball off to Pat Ricard. These compressed, tight alignments threaten the edge of the defense because of the opportunity for us to try to pin down on the edge defender and then pull a tight end and or pull the tackle out to the edge in front of Henry and Ricard, creating a numbers advantage to one side or the other. Hopefully I explained that in a way that makes sense. I have done I formation videos before and even breakdowns on Twitter. I think it is a larger element of our offense than I anticipated. Remember when Derrick Henry was signed? It was like, hey, how's he going to fit with Patrick Ricard as a fullback? He only runs out of single back. Derrick Henry's been effective at everything on this team in 2024. Under center, out of the eye, under center, one back, ace stuff, as I call it, in the shotgun, in the pistol. Tom Monken's done a great job. The offensive staff has done a great job of creating a system whereby they can attack defenses from a multitude of angles, a multitude of formations, a variety of different play concepts. Lamar's at the center of all of it, along with Derrick Henry. These I formation play action concepts, there's no definitive statement here for me in terms of why I chose this play concept. It should be called one concept Wednesday for this video, so my apologies. But I just think we are presenting defenses a wider array of possibilities out of other formations. When we're not under center in the eye, it's a very, almost want to say singular focus, but it's not singular because we can run the ball with Henry and go play action. So dual focus, dual possibilities in terms of the outcome, what play concepts we actually run. When we're in the shotgun, when we're in the pistol, or it's only one back in the backfield, we're more diverse. We run screens, we could run theoretically reverses, zone read options, play action concepts. This seems to be a little bit more of a tighter window for the output, for the possibility of the play output. But nonetheless, we're getting tremendous production out of it. And so whatever Monken, T. Martin, and the offensive staff are doing, our decision-making process, when to go in the eye, and when to run the football versus play action, they're making the right decisions generally. I think they did against the Bengals, even though we didn't hit on any of the big runs by Henry against the Bengals last Thursday night. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you enjoyed the video at all, please let me know in the comment section. If you think I missed any elements about the play action, this is only focusing on I formation play action. Feel free to let me know as well. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this content, this focus on under center play action concepts in 2024, but specifically against Cincinnati, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.